is amazing. I love this stuff. Like, please tell me this stuff is not amazing and you don't deserve to be alive. That was me trying to do the thumbnail. I thought it was hilarious. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys the story of the day where I thought I was going to die on a plane crash. I do want to say before I start telling you the story that this is definitely something that completely changed me as a person. Because of this event, I have extremely intense flight anxiety. I have to take medication whenever I travel, especially because it happened when I was quite young. So anyways, without further ado, I'm gonna jump right into the story. So it happened in 2013. It was the Easter holidays. I was in France with my mom. The holidays were coming to an end, so we had to fly back to Hong Kong. And I do want to mention that I've always been used to traveling. I've started flying from a very young age, especially long flights. Basically, flying was never something that I really loved. It was never something that scared me, but it was never something that I enjoyed that much. That's just a small detail. I thought I would put it out there. So me and my mom, we were in France. We had to fly back to Hong Kong. So just like the usual, we're packing the suitcases, we're getting ready for a flight in the morning. And then comes the day of the event. We're going to the airport, we check in our luggages, everything is going fine. We go to the lounge area, we're like sitting there waiting to board, and finally the girl goes on the speaker and she's like, flight to Hong Kong is ready to board, so please proceed to gate 64. I don't remember exactly. As we're walking towards the gate, that's when things start being a little bit different. Usually when I would travel, as I mentioned earlier, I would never get scared. Like, it was never an issue. As we're walking towards the gate, I start feeling really strange. I had no idea exactly what it was, but all I knew deep inside is that I didn't want to fly. I didn't want to get on the plane. I kept on hoping the plane was going to be cancelled. I don't know why. I just felt like I really don't want to be on this plane right now. I was sort of like blaming it on the fact that it was the end of the holidays and I had to go back to school. So I was just trying to reassure myself. But deep inside, I don't know, I felt like I don't want to be on this plane. Me and my mom, we arrived at the boarding gates, and then we were actually the first one to enter the plane, so that was cool, I guess. We enter the plane and we actually realized that we're gonna have 4 seats to ourselves. So my mom was super excited. She was like, oh my god, this is gonna be such a good flight. Look at all the space that we have, you know, we get to lie down properly, cool, whatever. My mom was just like excited. The more my mom was like getting excited and like making positive comments on like the trip, I would feel worse and worse and worse. I never said anything to her because I didn't want to bring any negative atmosphere. I was just in my own pain, trying to reassure myself, but I really was not having it. And I felt like everything seemed so perfect, you know, being the first one to board the plane and having, you know, all of these seats to ourselves, and everything was too perfect and too good, and that was actually playing with my anxiety. It was making it even worse. People start like coming inside the plane, people are like settling down, people are putting their luggages in the head compartment, people are just, you know, boarding the plane, like the usual scene. And as everybody was doing their own little thing, I was sitting on my seat, and I don't know, I really don't know how to explain the feeling I felt at that moment, but it felt like time stopped. I mean, everything was on pause except people around me. I don't know, okay, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Final Destination, but basically what happened is that when something really bad is going to happen, the guy or the girl gets a vision and then they get thrown back to present, and then that's when they alert the people and they're like, no, 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 don't board the plane or don't get on the roller coaster. And I'm not saying I had any vision. I didn't get any vision. I didn't get any image. I didn't get any like supernatural, whatever, like none of that. All I felt was like this really heavy discomfort, just really awkward, uneasy feeling. And I was looking at all of these passengers. I was just, I don't know, I was Oh my god, I wish there was like a word to like explain that feeling. Maybe if you guys know, you can like let me know, because I have no idea. Or if you've ever had this experience where you just feel like something bad's gonna happen, but you don't know what, you don't know why, you don't know how, you just, it's like, it's a gut feeling. Like I remember like my stomach was in pain. And anyways, obviously, you know, I felt really embarrassed and I didn't want to say anything, and I kept on telling myself, oh my god, you watch way too many movies, like you need to chill, it's just gonna be another flight just like all of the ones you've taken in the past. Just sit down, listen to your music, you're with your mom, you have all of the space, you need to just relax and stop like playing a movie in your head. That's what I did. I sat down, I was just like, you know, closing my eyes, trying to relax. Everybody is sitting down, and then the plane finally starts to move. I was sweating. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here, I don't want to be here. And as the plane is like, yeah, like speeding up, there's a guy in front of me on the phone, like literally having casual conversation as we're about to take off, right after the steward said, like, turn off your phone. I'm not blaming the guy for anything that happened. I'm not saying it had anything to do with, you know, the following of the story. All I'm saying is that it was making me feel even worse, and it was another reason for me to feel anxious, basically. Just like the fact that this guy was on the phone when clearly he's not supposed to be, it was just making me feel like, okay, this is not normal, I shouldn't be here, this is just weird. Anyways, plane takes off. Everything seems to be okay, you know, I feel a little bit more calm, even though I still have this horrible discomfort feeling. At least I'm like, okay, the journey has begun, we're up in the air, things seems to be, I mean, everything seems to be normal. Finally, the seatbelt sign goes off, so that means we can finally stand up. Whenever the seatbelt sign goes off after taking off, I go to the washroom to like tie up my hair, take off my lenses, and just sort of get ready to go to sleep because it's such a long flight. So I'm standing up, I'm like, okay mom, going to the washroom, like be right back. And as I'm in the washroom, like doing all of these different things, all of a sudden, and I remember it so well because I was removing my lenses, and as I'm removing my lenses, I felt this vibration coming from underneath the plane, and this, like, oh my god, the sound literally went like whoosh, huge, like loud, heavy noise that like vibrated at the same time. It was something, because when you're in a plane, you hear so many different noises, even some that you've never heard, okay? And I've been flying for years and years and years. I had never one time in my life heard such a loud, weird noise that made like a vibration on the plane. So I automatically like started freaking out, because obviously I was so anxious prior to like taking off. I was so anxious throughout the entire boarding. So I opened the washroom door and I'm like making my way to go and find my mom, and I see stewards like running around, looking at emergency door, like looking at like random windows. People are looking at each other. People are so confused. Everybody is just kind of like, what the hell was that, you know? No one is really freaking out apart from the stewards, but everybody is just kind of like, oh, did you hear that? Like, what was that? Like, oh. Go back to my mom, and at this point, like, I remember I started tearing up, and I was like, Mom, like, did you hear this? Like, is it normal? Like, did you hear it? I'm scared. Like, what's going on? My mom was, I think she could obviously tell that I was really scared and I was really anxious and I was really confused. So she was just like, no, it's fine. It's normal. We're in a plane, you know, noises everywhere. We're moving. It's normal. Just relax. It's fine. It's fine. And even though my mom was like trying to calm me and she was really well maintaining herself and her emotions, I know my mom so well, and I could tell in her eyes, I could tell she was anxious. Like, it was so obvious. I could tell she was like a little confused as well, but she was trying so hard to calm me down that she was just trying not to show it. We're on the plane, like everybody is like just waiting, you know, like we don't know what happened, but we're just pretty much all sitting down and like, yeah, like life goes on, I guess. And then the pilot comes on, and then he's like, ladies and gentlemen, as you may have heard, we have a little bit of an issue with the plane, but please don't worry, stay seated, fasten your seatbelt, and we are going to contact you in 15 minutes. When you're a 13-year-old kid that's freaking out, that had horrible, weird, unexplainable feelings before boarding this plane, you do not want to be on this plane, you hear this horrible noise, and finally you hear the pilot telling you not to worry and that they're going to contact you in 15 minutes. I think you kind of lose it. I lost it. At this point, I'm crying. I'm like, Mom, like, they're lying to us. Like, what's going on? What's going on? Like, what do they mean by issue? Like, what is it? What is it? Why are they not telling us what's happening? Like, are we gonna die? Are we gonna crash? 15 minutes? Like, what is going on? And actually, at this point, the passengers also started freaking out. Like, some people were praying, some people were holding hands, some, like, babies were crying. It was just, it wasn't chaotic, but you could tell people were really confused and really just like, oh my god, like, is everything okay? Like, are we, like, what? I mean, there was also this guy who was like getting really mad, like, what's going on? Like, can you please inform us? And the steward was like, oh, just calm down, we don't know, everything is fine, just wait. 15 minutes passed by, and honestly, it seemed like hours. And those 15 minutes were probably the worst of my life, because for 15 minutes, I mean, you don't, like, we didn't know what was going on. All we knew is that we heard this horrible loud noise, that the pilot was like, we need to wait 15 minutes. So for me, in my position, I was just crying. I remember I was like telling my mom, please Mom, can we call Dad? Can I call my friend? Can I call my sisters? Like, can we do something, Mom? Like, can we get out of the plane? I want to get out. I want to get out. And I remember just like, you know, like just repeating that, you know, I want to get out. I knew it. I want to get out. I'm scared. What are we going to do? And honestly, at that moment, I felt so trapped. I felt powerless. I felt scared. I felt like there was no going back, you know. I felt like that's it. This is my destiny. I felt it. I knew it. This is how I'm going to die. And honestly, for a 13-year-old to feel like she's gonna die, I think that's the reason why, as of today, planes are just the worst for me. They give me the worst anxiety, and I just have this like memory, you know, like that feeling, that horrible feeling. Pilot comes back on and he says, all right, we're gonna have to empty the fuel of the plane and we're actually gonna do an emergency landing back in Paris. Please just relax, fasten your seatbelts. So at this point, you know, everybody's fastening the seatbelt. We're all just waiting again, and we're turning for like 30 minutes, like even maybe an hour. I don't remember. We're just like turning around Paris non-stop. And then like, because the plane is doing the circles, like you can feel the plane like moving like that. And that to me was so terrifying, because every time the plane would turn, I was like, you know, I felt like, oh my god, that's it. We're gonna drop. So again, 30 minutes, horrible, you know, I'm holding my mom's hand, I'm crying, I'm like, I don't want to die, what's gonna happen, Mom? And pilot comes back on the speaker again, and this time he's like, okay, cabin crew, please prepare for landing. So like the stewards are like going up and down, like checking everyone, you know, everybody is just sort of like holding the seats, like everybody's freaking out. I'm just like, at this point, I was like curling up in a ball. I was holding my mom's hand. I was giving her like a speech on how much I love her, and like, you know, like, because for me, that was it, you know. I never thought we would ever land, you know. I thought it was all some sort of scenario so that people don't freak out. I mean, you know, after we turn, and then now it's finally time to land. So I'm holding my mom's hand. The plane lands. And I remember we didn't land in the airport. I mean, we landed in the airport, but not where you would usually land. We landed like a little bit more like further away. I remember as we're landing and the plane is like driving, I could see like firefighter trucks. There was a bus waiting for us. It was really scary, and we landed. And then I remember we waited 3 hours in that fucking plane for them to let us go. And people were like sweating, shouting, like, why are we in Paris? What happened? You need to give us some explanation. It was super chaotic. For me, I was literally just like sitting there with my music, and I was just so happy that I'm alive, that my mom is here, that everything is fine. And then yeah, that's it. You know, we ended up leaving the plane, we took the bus, they drove us to the airport, and we never knew what happened. We ended up grabbing a flight later that night, having to go back in the plane after this experience. Like, it was awful. My mom kept on complaining, like, in the new flight, how like she was so disappointed that we didn't get the 4 seats like we had in the previous one. And that's it, you know. Landed in Hong Kong and everything was fine, and I lied. That was my traumatic experience. It was honestly awful. I know the story is a little bit boring, like nothing crazy happened. You know, feeling powerless and not being like able to know what's going on. I think that was probably the worst. It was just like the whole build up of it. I actually believe that a few months after this incident, my mom was actually trying to figure out what happened. So she was calling up her friends like, oh my god, you know, on this specific day, me and Victoria, we took the plane. Do you know what it was? And I believe one guy that worked for the airline said to her that one of the plane's reactor caught on fire, but that's something I'm not 100% sure about. That's something that we kind of like heard later on. So was it the reactor? We don't know. All I know is that it was awful. I'm happy that nothing else happened. I'm happy that it was just a small incident, I guess. And so yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the story, and let me know in the comments if you want to hear more about my crazy stories, because I have so many more. And yeah, I'll see you guys on my next video. I'm getting very distracted because of these sleeves, but I promise you it's not gonna happen as I'm saying the story.